Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Israel today, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials as Israel's bombardment of Gaza continues for a 95th day. Blinken's on a multi-nation trip across the Middle East. On Monday, he met with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Health officials in Gaza say it's been another devastating 24-hour period. The bodies of 57 Palestinians killed in Israeli strikes have been taken to Al-Aqsa Hospital, the only remaining hospital in central Gaza. The hospital also took in 65 injured Palestinians as the hospital's few remaining doctors struggled to treat the wounded. Over the weekend, Doctors Without Borders and other NGOs pulled staff from the hospital due to concern for their safety and heavy Israeli attacks. Meanwhile, the Israeli human rights group Asylum has accused Israel of purposely starving the people of Gaza. In a new report, the group said starvation is, quote, not a byproduct of war, but a direct result of Israel's declared policy, they said. In Rafah, displaced Palestinians denounced Blinken and the United States for supporting Israel's assault.
We hold America and Blinken accountable as they help Israel kill children and provided weapons. So whether Blinken comes or not, he will never change anything. We will remain steadfast, and victory will be for us. We will show America and Israel something that they have never seen.
Israel has also carried out a number of military raids in the occupied West Bank. On Monday, Israeli forces shot dead 3 Palestinian men in the city of Tulkarem. Video has emerged showing an Israeli military vehicle running over one of the men who'd been shot. More than 340 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces and settlers in the West Bank since Hamas attacked Israel October 7th. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz is reporting 70 lawmakers in the Israeli Knesset have signed a motion to expel Ofer Kassif from the legislative body after he signed a petition supporting South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Kassif, who is Jewish, denounced the move to expel him as a member of the Knesset, pointing out no action has been taken against lawmakers who've called for the complete destruction of Gaza or back the removal of all Palestinians from Gaza. Earlier today, Israeli President Isaac Herzog met with Tony Blinken and criticized South Africa's genocide case.
On Thursday, a proceeding will start in the International Court of Justice in The Hague, whereby South Africa has sued Israel for supposedly genocide. There's nothing more atrocious and preposterous than this claim, where we are doing our utmost under extremely complicated circumstances on the ground to make sure that there will be no unintended consequences and no civilian casualties.
On Monday, Jeremy Corbyn, the former leader of the British Labour Party, called on Britain to back South Africa's case at the International Court of Justice.
22,000 people have already been killed, 1.9 million displaced, thousands dying in the rubble, thousands of children dying because of lack of medical care and food, people dying of starvation and thirst and hunger in the Gaza Strip at the present time. Cannot the government understand the anger around the world when they watch this in real time happening, and why so many people are very pleased that the government of South Africa has taken an initiative in going to the International Court in order to hold Israel to account for the deaths of so many wholly innocent people in Gaza? Can't the government understand that and at least support the South African process?
So far, just a handful of countries have publicly supported South Africa's genocide case against Israel: Bolivia, Turkey, Malaysia, and Jordan. Israel's reportedly carried out another targeted strike inside southern Lebanon, killing 3 members of Hezbollah earlier today. This comes one day after an Israeli drone strike assassinated Wissam al-Tawil. He was the most senior Hezbollah figure killed by Israel in recent months. The Washington Post is reporting U.S. officials are concerned that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sees expanding the war to Lebanon as, quote, key to his political survival. President Biden denounced the poison of white supremacy Monday during a speech at the Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where the white supremacist Dylann Roof shot dead 9 black parishioners in 2015. Many analysts say the speech was part of an effort by Biden to shore up support from black voters. Biden's speech was disrupted when a group of activists started chanting, "Ceasefire now."
Without light, there's no path from this darkness.
If you really care about the lives lost here, then you should honor the lives lost and call for a ceasefire in Palestine. Ceasefire! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
As the protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza were removed from the church, supporters of Biden started chanting 4 more years. President Biden then addressed the protest.
I understand their passion, and I've been quietly working with the Israeli government to get them to reduce and significantly get out of Gaza. I'm using all that I can to do that.
Here in New York, at least 325 protesters were arrested Monday morning when they blocked the entrances to 3 major bridges and a tunnel in Manhattan. Demonstrators were calling for a Gaza ceasefire.
I'm part of a large group of people who are shutting down downtown Manhattan. We're taking 4 sites. We're taking Brooklyn Bridge, where we are now, Williamsburg Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, and the Holland Tunnel, in solidarity with Palestine and against the war in Gaza. We're hoping that with this action, we can inspire others to keep agitating, keep escalating, and keep disrupting until we have shown that we will not stop until the U.S. supports a permanent ceasefire.
Organizers of the protests included Jewish Voice for Peace, Palestinian Youth Movement, and Democratic Socialists of America. Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets remain grounded after a refrigerator-sized fuselage door plug blew off on Friday on an Alaska Airlines plane near Portland, Oregon. Officials with Alaska Airlines and United Airlines say they found loose bolts and other problems on some of the grounded jets. Meanwhile, the online news outlet The Lever is reporting employees at a Boeing subcontractor were told to falsify records after inspection teams found, quote, excessive amount of defects in parts being made for Boeing. Spirit Aerosystems reportedly manufactured the door that blew out on the Alaska Airlines flight. The Lever reports a group of Spirit shareholders filed a federal complaint last year saying Spirit executives had, quote, prioritized production numbers and short-term financial outcomes over product quality. Spirit was established nearly 2 decades ago as a spin-off of Boeing. We'll have more on this expose after headlines. Donald Trump's expected to be inside a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. today. As his lawyers argue, the former president has absolute immunity from prosecution from charges he tried to overthrow the 2020 election. Trump's claiming his actions were part of his official duties as president. But in a legal brief, special counsel Jack Smith has warned that granting Trump immunity from criminal prosecution will be, quote, particularly dangerous due to his efforts to try to remain in office beyond his term. On Monday, Trump's legal team also filed a request to dismiss state charges in Georgia over election interference, citing presidential immunity. Trump's court appearance in Washington comes less than a week before the January 15th caucus in Iowa. In Brazil, rallies in defense of democracy were held Monday, marking 1 year since thousands of supporters of former far-right President Jair Bolsonaro stormed several government buildings in an attempt to topple newly elected President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Lula spoke Monday, hailing the victory of democracy over authoritarianism after the January 8th insurrection.
If the coup attempt had been successful, much more than glass, furniture, works of art, and historical objects would have been stolen and destroyed. The sovereign will of the Brazilian people that was expressed at the ballot box would have been stolen, and democracy would have been destroyed.
Scientists with the European Union have confirmed 2023 was the hottest year on record and likely the warmest in the last 100,000 years. Monthly heat records were broken every month last year from June to December. The head of the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service said, quote, "This has been a very exceptional year, climate-wise, in a league of its own, even when compared to other very warm years." In Bangladesh, more than 7,000 Rohingya refugees have been left homeless after a fire destroyed about 800 shelters in the Cox's Bazar refugee camp, where nearly 1 million Rohingya refugees live after fleeing Burma. And in Tacoma, Washington, dozens of asylum seekers from India, jailed at the Northwest Detention Center, have been on hunger strike for nearly a week, demanding their release and a fair due process. Strikers are denouncing their indefinite detention and other dangerous conditions at the detention center. Many of the asylum seekers told the advocacy group La Resistencia that Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials had threatened them with force feeding unless they ended the peaceful action. Northwest is run by the for-profit prison corporation Geo Group and has seen a wave of recent hunger strikes, most recently one that lasted over 50 days. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Juan, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.